Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Knife Chats with Tobias. Okay, going to be talking about the classic Carbon 2 series. My main focus will eventually be on the Sway Back Whittler. I had an issue with that. I'll be talking about that in a little bit. But first, I want to revisit the classic Carbon 2 Scout knife. This is, what number is it? RR2215. And what brings this up is the fact that I was looking at a person's response about this knife, and their response was dead on correct, and it is the same comment that people have made about the former Rough Ryder Kamp King, also no longer available. And that's mainly because if you look at these two knives, they are pretty much the same exact knife. The only difference is T10 Carbon Steel Blades, 440A stainless steel blades, pewter shield, nickel silver shield, black bone handles, and a big R on the bolster and no big R on the bolster. So all the tools in there are basically the same tools. You've still got the same gapping issues that you had in the first run of the Kamp King. Matter of fact, it looks like the gapping issues might even be a little worse on the classic Carbon 2 series, and I don't know why that is the case, especially considering these knives came out about a year or two apart, and Rough Ryder should have had enough time to address the issues that people pointed out with this knife for this knife. And well, what's the big complaint about this knife? Same big complaint that is about this knife. And guess what? I gotta tell you right now, the fact that all the blades on this knife are half stops, and Rough Ryder goes around saying that knife has half stops, that's a sign of quality. No. A sign of quality is you have a knife that works and does what it's supposed to do. And that's where the problem comes in, because this is not a quality cap lifter screwdriver, because this cap lifter just flat out does not work 99% of the time. And that is unsatisfactory in a camp knife. The cap lifter on a camp knife should be made to work. And they have been around on knives, on camp knives, for over 100 years. For 100 years, people have been putting cap lifters on camp knives, and they have worked. I think they had reached perfection on the Swiss Army knife. This cap lifter is a no-fail cap lifter. Doesn't matter what kind of beer bottle you're grabbing, this thing is going to open. It will open things that are not beer bottles. It will just flat out work. It's like perfection, and it is not hard to duplicate. And what's more so, this is the Rough Ryder, I think this is what, the 533 or the 573, one of the two. This is the 533, Rough Ryder 533, the one with the funky little can opener. Well, it has a no-fail cap lifter. This cap lifter works all the time. This one does not work hardly ever. Notice the difference. This one has a big open gaping mouth that actually gets onto a bottle and opens it. This one has a half closed mouth where the person is going, no, get that bottle cap away from me. I don't want to be chewing on a bottle cap. It's like it's closing its mouth on the cap so you can't even do anything with it. What most people have had to do is resort to getting in there with a Dremel tool and filing this down just so that you can get it into a cap. That's not what we should be doing. That's what your factory in China should be doing, is fixing the damn cap lifter on these knives. It is unacceptable. The fact that you have a knife with a great half stop is not a sign of quality if you have a cap lifter on the knife that does not work. I would much rather have a knife without a half stop that has a cap lifter that works. This is one of the best knives you ever made. This knife, because of its shoddy cap lifter, becomes a fail. And that's a hard thing for me to say because I love Rough Riders and I love camp knives. But a camp knife with a poorly formed cap lifter is not worth its beans. It's not worth taking in the woods. And so you really, really need to rectify that problem, not to mention the big gapping issues in there. Notice the difference. These are both Rough Riders. Fix the gapping issues in these knives before you put it out again. Quite frankly, I wouldn't, I can't tell somebody, hey, go buy the Rough Ryder Kamp knife. All I can say right now is, yeah, it's good for the collection. If you collect camp knives and you want all of the Rough Ryder Kamp knives, then yeah, you're going to have to go and buy it. But be forewarned, the cap lifter doesn't work worth beans. And that is not something I really want to be saying about Rough Ryder knives. So, you know, half stop, it's only a sign of quality if the knife does what it's supposed to do. And this knife, at least with the cap lifter, does not do what it's supposed to do. So please fix it in the future because I really do want a good, solid camp knife from Rough Ryder. But so far, this is the best one you've made. Okay, enough ragging on the classic Carbon 2 Scout knife. Let's move over to the Sway Back Whittler, which I have a lot more positive things to say about. Alrighty, the Sway Back Whittler RR2217 comes in the same magnetic box as all the other classic Carbon 2s come in. I believe they use all the same size box. It's interesting that they use the classic Carbon logo here, but the knives have the 25th anniversary logo here. Not sure why they did that. I wish they would have stuck with the, where's it at? Where's it at? Here we go. I like this shield better. I wish they would have left it with the RRCC. I like that shield better. Still a diamond and everything. I guess the Rough Ryder on either side does kind of look cool though. In any case, what can I say about the knife? Well, you now have one in a black. So far, this knife has only come out in carbon steel. I would like one in 440A stainless, to tell you the truth. But anyway, now you have one in Black Micarta. So you have a choice. You can either have yellow comp or Black Micarta. Both of these are available still. They came back out with this one again, which is cool. I actually kind of like the yellow comp one better than the Black Micarta. But the Black Micarta does have that little blue inlay underneath the Micarta, which looks kind of good. Again, you got stainless steel back springs. I'll tell you how I know they're stainless steel in a little bit with the brass liners. And if you notice, it is a split back Whittler, which is pretty cool. Now, I have two of these. The reason I have two of them is because when I ordered them, the first one I got had a blade on the back here that when I went to close it, it was catching on the big Warncliffe blade. And so I contacted I contacted SMKW, and they sent me one out. They did not tell me, they told me, hang on to the old one, which is usually what they do. They don't even tell you to send it back. They go, keep the old one, we'll send you out a new one, and then when it comes, if you have a problem with that one, then we'll probably ask you to send them both back, and we'll try and get another one out to you. Well, as you can guess, this one works perfectly. It's no problem at all. Nice, good, strong blades. There is some, there's definitely some tension on the top Warncliffe blade, which is typical with these knives because and it's designed that way because this is a Whittler and this is the blade that is actually operating off of 2 springs, so that's why it is so hard to open that when you've got the tension of 2 springs instead of just 1 spring on the main blade. And because the cool thing about a Whittler is the main blade here is centered on the handle. And that's why you have the split back going on and the 2 blades over to the side here. These are secondary blades for smaller tasks, but this is your main whittling blade. And the Wharncliffe blade is really a blade that is just a phenomenal blade for woodwork. I'm not the biggest whittler in the world, but I do know many people who whittle on a regular case, and they love the Wharncliffe blade for that purpose. And part of that reason is because you've got such a straight edge on the bottom here, and you've got a nice tip, so you can do some detail work and you can do some reaming and stuff like that with it. Now, this knife is actually based off of a case pattern that came out around 1993, I believe, and I think it was the 355 pattern by Case. If it's a different number than that, I'll put it somewhere down here, 355 or whatever it is. So the knife pattern was not around for a very long time, and it was one of the Wharncliffe whittlers that they made. And the frame is nearly identical to this, and it has a Wharncliffe blade that looks just like this. The only difference is the 2 blades on the case pattern were not pin blades. They were a different style. Well, they might have been a pin blade, but they were a different style of a pin blade. And it was one of those things that kind of puzzled me with the case knife too, is that both of the secondary blades were the same, and I didn't understand why they did that. I know a lot of people don't mind 2 pin blades on a whittler, but I've always felt that one of the secondary blades on a whittler should be a coping blade. Now, wait a sec. Let me explain what a coping blade is. So here we have the Case Seahorse whittler, and if you notice the front blade here, this is your coping blade, and notice what it is. It's a nice straight blade with a little bit of an angle here. It's kind of like a sheepfoot blade, except it's a much more refined straight line coming down this way. And this blade is used for scoring wood and for scribing lines and stuff like that. And it works a lot better at scribing and scoring than a typical pin blade will work. So that's why the coping blade is found on a lot of whittling knives, because it's a blade used in woodworking. Pin blades are better for drilling and everything, and for a different kind of small detail work. I always thought this looked like the anorexic Seahorse, and this is the pregnant Seahorse. Anyway, all in all, let me just get back to this one. This knife, I really like it. I really enjoy it. I like the way it looks. After I got the second one in, the build quality was more than acceptable. Yeah, it's got a strong back spring. Matter of fact, is it stronger than on this one? No, about the same. The blade lineup, notice how tight that is. See how close those blades are? That's why the other knife had some issues, because the blade was so close that it was actually catching. So there's not much room for error here on these knives, but I can get these blades open with no problem, and they close perfectly. So if you have one that has an issue, contact SMKW, send it back. So that's the other thing. Make sure you buy it from a reputable dealer, because yeah, sometimes quality control is going to screw up and you're going to get a knife that is not as good as it's going to be. But at least with SMKW, when something like that happens, they do you right, and they do you right very quickly. And now I have not only this Sway Back Whittler in the Classic Carbon 2 series. I also had a second one that I could play around with. And well, let's take a look at the one that I played around with. Here's the original one. While I decided I was going to modify the back blade because it was catching on the back, I also decided, you know what, I just will have a little fun with this. Everyone has been talking about patinaing a knife, you know, force patina and everything. And so I thought I would take a shot at that too and see just how well it came out and everything. Never did a force patina before. Don't know if I'll ever do another one, but I figured, what the heck, I will go ahead and take a shot at it. I probably should have read some instructions online before doing it. I've heard a couple people talk about it, but I just went ahead and said, well, what the heck, this was basically a free knife. I've already cut a blade. Let's see what happens if I force patina it. And that's what I ended up doing. I'll tell you how I did the force patina in a minute. Let's go over the blade first. And here you have the blade that was catching and rubbing. I think I have if I have it in the earlier video, I will show it to you. I know I have some pictures of where it was catching. And now it closes fine. It's not hitting or rubbing or anything. It's a little shorter than I had hoped for, and it's also a little more rounded than I had hoped for. I was trying to make this into a coping blade, but I kind of failed miserably. It's more like a little sheep foot, and the tip of the blade just isn't quite as straight as I had hoped it would be, but I can definitely scribe with it if I need to. And you know, so I don't know, I can dig in there a little bit. So I'm happy enough with it, let me put it that way. The other blades work fine. Yeah, I've oiled it recently because, well, quite frankly, it just came out of a vinegar bath, so I figured I better oil it. I've rinsed it really good with hot water and everything. But really, all I did was I took it and soaked the blades in white vinegar. I took it and put it in a plastic container, about that high up with the vinegar, and I soaked this blade for an hour or two, and then pulled it out, wiped it off, and opened these two blades up and did the same thing. I just dropped it in vinegar with the blades sitting like so, and for about an hour or so. And that's the way they came out. I have wiped them, I have cleaned them. I have tried to remove the patina with a little case paste and stuff, and that's the way the blades ended up looking. So it's a nice carbony steel blade. Kind of caught there a bit. Let's see here. Is that me or the knife? No, it's not catching. Any case, there you have my other one. So you see that blade. I think I got a fairly decent one. I didn't try and put a pattern or anything in it. I just really wanted to, basically really what I was trying to do is all the little marks and dings and everything in here, I just kind of wanted to hide those with the patina. So, and I think that's what worked. I mean, can't see any of that happening on there. And well, let's see. You can definitely see the difference. This knife, you don't have to worry about fingerprints on that blade. So you see the difference. You got that nice gray steel finish going versus the mirror polish finish on the regular blade. So it is a kind of an interesting finish on it. And if you notice, the pewter shield matches the blade here. It's almost like I would have liked to have carbon steel bolsters on here to get the whole thing to turn gray. But that's also how I kind of figured out that the back springs are stainless steel, because if they had not been stainless steel, I figured they would have turned color and would have been gray here, and gray here, but still shiny in the middle because there was no vinegar hitting the back spring in the middle here. So in any case, there you have it. Thinking I might end up having to reprofile that cap lifter, and once I do that, I'll have to patina the camp knife as well. Let me take just a second to thank you once again for dropping by and spending a few minutes here at Knife Chats with the Bias. I really do appreciate it, and I do appreciate any comments that you leave. So please remember to give me that thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you'll know when the next episode is up and running. Thanks again for dropping by. Really do appreciate your time here.